Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you in the Central Time Zone on the West Coast. As well, those who are following from Israel, from Europe, and parts abroad, we want to wish you a good evening. Well, we have a number of situations, whether it's Lebanon, Gaza, Iran, Jordan, and each of these situations is incredibly complex. We were very lucky today to have Major General Nadav Padan, who obviously has been very involved on each of these situations, on the situation analysis, and to give us some context, to give us some perspective of what's happening and what we should be thinking about, where it's going. We're very grateful to have Major General Nadav Padan give us that insight. General.
Thank you, Steve. I would like to start with kind of a declaration or title that will wrap up a lot of questions that I get over the last few weeks that deal with this tactical event or this operational event in the north or the south. We have to understand what we're dealing with, generally speaking. The Iranian trying to force us to a long war of attrition, to break the law of Israel step by step and create a situation that they'll be able to break the spirit of the people of Israel, and people will start to leave Israel to other places. That's the idea of terror, of war of attrition that the Iranians try to achieve. We are trying to create a situation that will end those conflicts when we are on a high, and it will lead us to a situation that will have better agreement or better result. At the end of the day, no matter what, the Iranian going to still be there, and Hezbollah going to still be there, and Hamas going to still be there. Those are ideas that you cannot erase. People that carry those questions under the understanding of total victory are understanding the situation of the Middle East. It's a lot more complicated. So total victory means that we'll be able to achieve better agreement that will provide peaceful, stable, secure borders at the south and in the north, and the people that lives at the Gaza envelope at the north part of the state of Israel will be able to come back to their villages, to the kibbutzim, to their town, and not only to live there, but to build their economy and create prosperity, if you will, in those areas of Israel. So the war continues, and there is ups and downs. During those ups and downs, the Iranian losing their ability to operate as they thought or dreamed with the proxies. Hamas is no longer a force that could, change the balance in the Middle East. Hezbollah getting weaker and weaker every day. The old leadership of Hezbollah gone. They found a new leader, but they don't have the same experience, and they don't have the ability, leadership-wise and equipment-wise, to create or to launch the same operation they dreamed to launch toward Israel. And I'm speaking about a maneuver into the north of Galilee, or covering most of Israel with accurate missiles and drones. And the other proxies in Syria and Iraq are too far and limited, or the Houthis in Yemen are limited with the ability to challenge Israel. We have enough time to protect ourselves, although, especially this month, that we are burying over 87 people only in October. We have to remind ourselves that there is no 100% in protecting Israel. And when it comes to the missile defense system of Israel, that defend Israel against missiles, rockets, and drones, there is statistics that show that when it comes to missiles and rockets, we're doing pretty good job. Almost 95% are intercepted, 94 point something, almost 95. When it comes to drone, the statistic is a bit more challenging. We are a little bit intercepting a little bit more than 80%, which means that hundreds of them hit targets in Israel. thank God, in most cases in open area, but in a lot of cases, they hit accurate targets, from the house of our prime minister to bases to other strategic assets of Israel, like the military or security industrial of Israel and other stuff. So we're speaking about over 2,500 drones that have been launched toward Israel. Just took 20% of it. It's hundreds of drones that hit Israel. And we cannot afford the system that run, this evil system that run by Iran, to continue with this kind of tempo of launching drones and rockets on a daily basis. So they cannot achieve what they dream, but Israel cannot achieve their dream when half of the people at the north are in shelters. The people that live along the northern border are evacuated, and the people in Gaza envelope didn't come back to the towns and villages and kibbutzim. So what Israel is trying to achieve is to create a situation or create pressure that will allow us to get to better agreement. And we're speaking about agreement, not total victory. There is no binary situation that Hamas are not going to get out of the tunnel with white flags tomorrow and give it up. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. So we have to be strong and look at it in a professional way and lead it to the right situation to create agreement. Means that we have to work in several layers. Military, we have to keep our pressure to destroy Hezbollah ability, Hamas ability, and keep this military pressure, but because this is the initiator of everything. And parallel to that, we have to run with two layers. First is direct kind of negotiation through third actor and through sending messages, and the agreement that are running or leading by the U.S. with the representative at the Middle East, that there's convoy that run from one state to another, visiting Israel right now and about to go to Lebanon the day today from now. That's the main strategic effort of Israel. So my suggestion to ourselves is to understand that it's a long, tough war. There is, in a war, ups and downs. We have to be strong. And at the end of the day, so far we're winning. Although we are suffering with a lot of casualties, although we still have 101 hostages in Gaza Strip, that it's an emergent thing to list them. Having said that, you have to understand that, generally speaking, the system of Iran failed to launch their plans. That's the truth. That's the bottom line. And I think we should get advantage of it. Now I'll try to speak about three components from this system. I'll start with the Iranian. The Iranian, after the response of Israel, have an open case with Israel. They already declared that they're going to respond. They understand how dangerous it's for them. And what they're trying to do is to figure out how to respond from one hand and not leading Israel to a very tough attack against the strategic facility in Tehran. What Israel achieved during the last attack, the last direct attack against the Iranian, was to destroy the air defense system of Iran in a way that it's created a better freedom for the Air Force to attack the strategic target in Iran, in Syria, and in Iraq. And this situation scares the Iranian greatly, and therefore they are very meticulously try to pick the response in a way that won't lead Israel to destroy their economy or their regime center and so on and so on. Personally, I think that when it comes to Iran, we have amazing opportunity. I'm just waiting for them to respond and initiate or turn on the green light for Israel to respond to the Iranian attack, and by that destroy in this specific, unique, historic period of time that I'm not so sure that will return, the strategic facility in Tehran. I'm speaking about the nuclear facilities. I'm speaking about the regime center in Tehran and other places. I think it's amazing opportunity, and Israel will do smart if they'll take the advantage of it, if the Iranian will dare to challenge us. When it comes to Lebanon, we spoke about momentum several times. I must tell you that Hezbollah suffer from lack of leadership and lack of equipment. You could see that the terrorists along the western border of Lebanon are raising hand, give it up. It's a phenomenon that we didn't see before. We didn't see it in Lebanon, Second War and First War. When it comes to the Shia militant group, Amal at the time, and now Hezbollah and Amal. So they are suffering daily. They are desperate to have a ceasefire. And when we are stretching this negotiation too long, it's created an opportunity for them to recover. They won't be able to rebuild themselves to the place they were before, but they are recovering in a way that challenges Israel on a daily basis. And every day they're still launching thousands of rockets toward Israel and anti-tank missiles and mortars. And I mean, you can see today that we lost another 6 civilian. It's little weapons that we cannot, afford ourselves to live in Israel while we have this threat on a daily basis. So we have to close this friction, and we have an opportunity which is quite unique. And again, it's quite unique because it's the first time during this war that Hezbollah disconnects himself to Gaza Strip. Hezbollah is willing to have ceasefire agreement and go back to the 1701, regardless what happened in Gaza Strip. That's quite unique because till 4 weeks ago, in every declaration, every negotiation, everything started with the ceasefire or the end of the war, if you will, in Gaza Strip. That's a unique opportunity for us to break the system, to take out this component, the Hezbollah component from the system, and leave the Iranian with those other proxies that, as I mentioned before, the Houthis in Yemen, in Iraq and in Syria, that cannot challenge Israel too much, and with Hamas, that is no longer exists as a military of terror. So the only tools that they'll have is to launch stupid missiles that we know how to deal with, or to launch direct attack, which I already mentioned is not going to be a good idea for them at this time when they're so exposed to our Air Force. So I think that we are in a good position right now, and therefore I said at the beginning that we're winning. Yes, Steve.
So one of the questions that many have is this, and I'm starting with the assumption that Defense Minister Gallant said that at this point, we've eliminated 80% of Hezbollah's rockets. If that's close to being accurate, that would mean there's probably another at least 30,000 rockets that they have. Is it in Israel's interest to continue for another 4, 6, 8 weeks trying to diminish as many launchers, to diminish as many rockets as possible? Or is it in Israel's interest to try to find some kind of ceasefire, some kind of agreement now, not go for another 6, 8 weeks of war, but do it now? In that way, they can start moving people back north. What are the pros and cons of each approach?
So I would say that, first of all, I'm not so sure about this number, with all the respect to Minister Gallant. I don't think that anyone in the intelligence community of Israel could, stand behind 80% as the right number. Second, the idea that lead to your question is the idea that comes from the concept of total victory. we won't be able to destroy the last rocket. And really, the situation right now allowed Hezbollah to launch its strategic attack, but it allowed him to continue launching few rockets every day and continue with this war of attrition. And that will stand for him for the week to come, no matter how aggressive going to be the Israeli attack. We won't be able to eliminate, to destroy all the storages, all the launching position, for many reasons. Some of them are in very complicated, sensitive location. Other are moving from one place to another. It's very complicated to locate it and target it. So the idea of giving the IDF another 4 weeks and get a situation that we're destroying 95%, if you will, if I'll continue with the idea of the 80% missile that already been destroyed, it's not come from professional assessment, and it's to my understanding, it's not achievable. So we have to get to the agreement when the momentum of the war is in our side. When the momentum of the war is in our side, we can force Hezbollah to accept ceasefire and accept agreement that closer to our goals and our strategic goal. Like I mentioned, disconnect between Hezbollah and Gaza and Hamas, for example. Having the Lebanese army taking the position of Hezbollah along the border, the amount of kilometers that they'll have to go north to the Israeli-Lebanese border, and so far and so on. So we're in a situation where we can achieve better agreement. Although, as far as I understand the diplomacy, they'll try to stick to the 1701 that got the support of the UN, and it's well-known agreement that it will get the support of the Western world, mainly France and other Western European countries. So if I have to wrap it up, but to put the bottom line, as soon as we have a good momentum and ability to get an agreement, we have to do it. We won't be able to change strategically the world. We're definitely going to kill another 10, 100, 200 terrorists or destroy another 1,000 rockets. Yes, we can. But is it change strategically the situation of Israel for the year to come? No. And as I mentioned, we lost 87 great people from Israel this month. We are not, it's not a good idea to lose another 30 waiting for someone to accept or to destroy. It's not worth to bury another 30 soldiers for another 1,000 rockets. As simple as that.
The last question that we have for you is focused on the Gaza. Now that it appears that Israel is going to be bringing in this company that will oversee the distribution of the food, the kind of criminality where Hamas, in cahoots with UNRWA and other groups, steals the food, controls the food, it'll shut off some of the funding to Hamas. Do you think strategically that will change things? Do you think that will be a game changer, or that's not necessarily going to be that big a difference?
The game changer will be that will create different kind of leadership in Gaza Strip. Substitution to the Hamas leadership and speak. This agreement at the very beginning will create kind of a diplomatic achievement that no one is going to blame Israel for not providing food and blocking the echelon of drugs and support to the people of Gaza Strip. I truly believe that at the beginning this company will have a lot of friction with Hamas, and they're going to be ups and downs the first week to come, because in some of the cases they will take over by force. I mean, Hamas will take over by force those echelon of food. So it's not going to be Israel to be blamed, but it won't change dramatically the situation in Gaza Strip. It's not going to be a game changer, as you asked. It's going to be a game changer where we'll start parallel to this company, create substitution to the leadership. Someone that not only can provide the food, but can deal with all the other civilian challenges of Gaza Strip, from being the local police to tax collection to any other civilian challenge that you can have in mind. And we are in a process of building it. It's going to take time, and it will cost money and life, unfortunately, because to still have those groups, cells of terror spread all over Gaza Strip, and they have weapons, and they have the ability to take over and force their power on part of the neighborhood from time to time. It's going to be a long war. When we said that the war against terror was going to take time, and it took us almost 5 years to create the stability we have in the freedom of operation in Gaza Strip, that's what we're speaking about. Time is not only for construction and rebuilding, it's also for creating different kind of regime, different kind of leadership that will lead Gaza. And this company is a good start. It's one of the brick in a whole building that we should build to create substitution in Gaza.
General, thank you. Thank you for the analysis and the assessment. Just to our viewers and our participants on this program, something we want to share, and that is there is a need for those who would have an interest. It costs $20,000, but the impact is just unestimable. And what am I referring to? In this PTSD initiative, it's a $114 million initiative. One of the components is that a group of therapists and social workers who never had a background in PTSD are being trained, managed, and mentored over the next 10 years by the most esteemed group, Dr. Mickey Pollack and his team at Sheba. They're training them, managing them at multiple locations. These are therapists who will have primarily discharged and veteran soldiers as their clients, but as well, some of them will have civilian clients. The cost of that, and that's the cost is $20,000. We're looking for donors. That's number one. And number two is something we've spoken about in weeks past. Initially, we were asked to provide 1,000 scholarships. The semester is going to be starting in November. That number now has skyrocketed to 1,170 scholarships. If anyone would have an interest, and we've spoken about the Impact Scholarship, you're funding their education, a good deal of their expenses, they're spending money in terms of room and board. And in turn, this former soldier, these were all combat or combat support soldiers, will be giving 130 hours a year to one of 23 charities in Israel, will maintain a B average. These are all soldiers who've come either from poverty or low middle class families. There's a certain per gross income per person per month. That's the determination on an economic level. As well, the donor will have a chance to have a relationship with a minimum of 2 letters a year. Many with their Impact Scholars actually have a WhatsApp relationship throughout the duration of the year. But initially, when we presented this to our participants on this briefing, it was for 1,000 soldiers, former soldiers. That number has now skyrocketed to 1,170. So we're actually looking to raise another 170 scholarships. Each of these is $20,000. In the case of Impact, it's $5,000 a year over 4 years for the scholarship. And every penny, both of those programs, there is no overhead on. Those who would have an interest in participating, Steve.Weil, Steve.Weil at FIDF.org. We want to thank you, and we will be back. If there's an emergency, if there's any crisis, we'll be back right away. If not, we'll be back next Sunday. Major General Padan, thank you very much, and thank you for giving us an insight into what we should be looking forward, both in Gaza, in Lebanon, as well as Iran.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all.